Hey, welcome to HR Famous, brought to you by Kinetix, the leading RPO recruiting firm for growth companies. Named by HRO Today as the top midsize RPO provider, Kinetix uses its unique skill-based recruiter model to deliver on RPO engagements, allowing them to customize scope to meet your unique hiring needs. If you have recruiting challenges and want to consider RPO as a solution, give Kinetix a call. Find them online at kinetixhr.com. HR Famous is also brought to you by HRU Tech, a contingent staffing firm specializing in engineering, IT, and technically related placements across multiple industries. If you're looking for technical talent or searching for a career, look no further than HRU Tech. Find them online at hrutech.com and call them today. Hey, what's up, everybody? Chris Dunn, CHRO at Kinetix. It is the HR Famous podcast. Happy to be joined today by the entire crew, the entire cast, Jessica Lee and Tim Sackett. Jessica, let's start with you. How are you doing? It's day 106 of the lockdown. I'm sure you're thriving.
I'm thriving. I'm beyond surviving. I'm thriving. Just got back from vacation and it feels great.
Okay, we're going to talk about the vacation in a second. Do you know, Jlee, how Tim deals with the lockdown?
Well, does he? He goes to vacation in Utah every other, I don't know. That's
he goes to Zion National Park.
That's not vacationing. That's remote working.
No, he actually goes into the office. I think he's got some people returning, and then he goes on long walks. He's got some type of like green belt near him. Mm-hmm. And he puts on the walking shoes and he just eliminates the stress that way. It's unbelievable. But more importantly,
I've switched it. By the way, Katie, I've switched it up a little where I brought my mountain bike in. So every other day I'll walk mountain bike kind of thing too.
It's amazing. Did you learn that in Utah when you were visiting Zion?
I haven't mountain biked in Utah yet. I desperately want to though, because it's amazing.
It sounds like you might die if you mountain brook on some of the places you're hiking.
It's a good chance
in Zion. And we don't want that. Okay, so Jlee, you have to tell us before we get to our first of two topics, you've got to tell us about your vacation. So it's not actually day 106 of the lockdown for you because you went on vacation. Tell us all about it. Where'd you go? What'd you learn? Were you contemplative? Did you think big thoughts while you were on vacation? Tell us all about it.
Well, full disclosure, I don't ever really go on a full-on vacation with an out-of-office response on and all of that because that's not my style.
Yeah, I like it.
So it was a working vacation. And I think what's cool is that, like, people don't actually need to know that you're somewhere nice. Like, we're all remote. Like, no one needs to know. I didn't actually need to tell people I was somewhere lovely. But I did. I went to the beach. I expanded my quarantine bubble. We spent time with a few other families, which may be controversial. I understand, but is what we needed to do. And I've come back tan and my pants are a little tight. It's great.
Hey, by the way, it's a whole concept we need to talk about is the out of office vacation. So in the last 10 years, I don't think I've ever put an out of office on at any point in my entire career.
I only did it once. When I went on my honeymoon.
Yeah. I was gonna say that probably the more controversial thing, maybe not in 2020, is not that you had, family members, whatever, with you, whatever, like on that. It's more the fact that you've never put on an out of office reply. I would tell you it's rare for me to do that. I can't remember the last time I've done it. There's a lot of people out there, Tim Sackett, that would take umbrage, if you will, with the fact that none of us ever put on out-of-office replies. Now, I'll say this. I'm older than both of you, but I don't like going back to the time where I was Jlee's age, and even before that, as a young, up-and-rising young professional.
Oh, wait. You changed your voicemail answering machine greeting. Like, what did people do?
Hi, this is Chris Dunn. You've reached me. I will be back Monday, July 5th.
So that's dramatically unfair. Email has been around since I've been around. Yeah, I would never change the voicemail either. Like, no. Not at all. Not at all. Hey, by the way, speaking of vacations, Jlee, so Tim's like doing up the Instagram probably before you were gone, right? Your vacations overlapped a little bit. Is that correct? You had a couple of days where Tim was still out there?
Probably.
So I can see Tim on video. I can see both of you as we tape this. And Tim sent this like picture of he and his better half like on this lake. It's a managed lake, right? So it's dammed up in the desert. And he got a haircut as soon as he got back because he was wind whipped. Like he did this thing. He had the beard. You know, I could say a couple people he looked like, but that would be unfair. Like
I got a lot of comments about how old I looked. And so I was like, wow, okay.
Join the club on that. All right. Well, Jlee, it's good to have you back. Thanks for the pop on the voicemail, like, you know, the answering machine thing that I had to change back when I was up and coming. You know, we'll see. Tim, she did mention tight pants. How are your pants these days? Are they tight?
You know, by the way, I'll do a fashion tip for everybody out there for the dudes. So I started buying shorts from Fair Harbor. And they have like an inner liner, KD, with the longer inner liner, not the briefs, the longer ones. I will tell you, they're the most comfortable shorts I've ever worn in my life, and I went out and bought 5 pair because I love them so much.
So it's easy to get the liner wrong, Tim. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, because you don't want the bikini thing up the butt. You want, these are the longer ones. These are the longer ones.
All right, HR Famous. It's where we talk about everything important, like Tim Sackett bringing up liners in men's shorts.
Fair Harbor, feel free to send me any free shorts you want.
All right. So let's move on to our first topic. We're talking return to work bonus. So a lot of stuff going on with the stimulus plan, Mr. Tim Sackett. You had the Payroll Protection Act. You had federal unemployment tagged on to state unemployment. That has created a lot of noise and a lot of shrapnel that people are really incented not to return to work. They might not even be incented to find a job depending on like what their traditional pay level is. So as we enter into the latter portion of July, federal unemployment, getting ready, Tim Sackett, to run out, Republican lawmakers are calling for an end to the unenhanced employment benefits that we're talking about as part of the federal stimulus and replace them with a return to work bonus. Tim, what do you know about that and how do you feel about it?
Well, I mean, KD, we're less than 2 weeks away from August 27th, which is the last day of the official federal $600 unemployment weekly unemployment kind of bonus, and we'll see if that gets extended. Obviously, the House voted on an extension, but the Senate has said they won't pass it. So we have to figure out what's going on there. So we anticipate sometime in the next week and a half that we'll see some kind of decision. That what I keep hearing though is from so many employers around the country is that they cannot find workers right now, and it's not about people coming back. These employers are the ones that already have the work or the continued work, and now they have to hire. They probably were already hiring when COVID hit, and then they said, they had to stop operations, and now they're starting up. And with a lot of hourly workers, let's say $20 and under, you have a natural turnover that's happening, and so there's just some hiring that has to take place. They're like, look, we can't get anybody to accept these jobs because of the amount of money they're being made. And I think the estimate I saw on I think it was CNBC was because of the $600 extra federal unemployment bonus, 60% of the people who are currently collecting unemployment are actually making more on unemployment than they were before unemployment.
Yeah,
which is
just
like
a problem. Jlee, let me give you a stat and then you come in. So the Republicans are trying to get their heads around what they would recommend. Here are some of the potential plans. This just like blows me away, Jlee. They are proposing a couple of things, either replacing the $600 weekly payments as part of the federal unemployment with $450 weekly payments for those who return to work, or paying those who return to work a $1,200 hiring bonus distributed in 2 payments. Jlee, I thought unemployment worked like you had to show that you were actively seeking a job. And then if your former employer offered you a job, I thought there was some type of sync up with that. Right, Jlee?
Well, so that's exactly part of the issue that I'm not understanding if like it's being addressed. So nearly every state has said, like, we're temporarily waiving work search requirements during this time period because there was a concern of there aren't jobs. Is it safe to be in the workplace? And so, like, most people in most states aren't having to certify or demonstrate or show anything that they've made valid efforts to try to search for a job. So that's part of the problem, right? Like, if you put that requirement back in and people are having to look for work, then there's less of an incentive. There shouldn't be a reason why, like you're saying, hey, I'm going to give you a bonus to return to work. So
I do think there's a stipulation in there, Jlee, about because of the COVID stuff that if you're offered to return back to work and you go, hey, I have like kids at home or I feel like I'm at risk, that they can't force you to come back so you can stay on unemployment
and that's
or something like that,
right? That I think HR people should be thinking about and working through, right? Like if you're calling someone back to work and they're not wanting to because they have an underlying health issue or they're concerned about their safety, like, sure, that's like a proper thing to be working through. Do you have ADA issues? Do you have FEMLA stuff that you need to work through for that person separate from like their own health? Like, are there things that you got to work through to help them manage through childcare? So I think that there are some very practical bits that HR folks should be thinking about, but you put all that to the side. There's no option for remote work and you're calling someone back. And they're not wanting to come. I've got issue that we would even try to have to incent them to return to work. It's supposed to be an unemployment benefit. Like, I don't get it.
I like the fact that, the government moved really quickly in March and early April to get a lot of benefits out there. And I think it's easy. I think they had to move fast. So there were holes in the plan. And I appreciate the fact that they moved fast and they took care of a lot of people. I like you, Jlee. I look at some of these paying people to return to work. It's really hard to get your head around. I do understand the angle of, hey, people may not feel safe returning to work, and I'm sensitive to that. But whatever stat Tim gave us, like at the jump of this, what percent of people were 60% working more?
Yeah.
It's a tough thing. The other thing, Tim, that I always wonder about is for all the people who got furloughed. I think, it's one thing not to be looking for work. And, Jessica, talked about the fact that we had kind of done away, at least temporarily, with you have to look for work when you're on unemployment. But also now that we're getting to the place where, some furloughs are ending and some organizations and companies are bringing those people back on. Some of those people are saying that they don't want to return. And I've read accounts where they don't want to deal with the employee relations issue of bringing somebody back. So that person who's been offered a job could still remain on unemployment, even though their former employer said, we have work for you, and they would be part of that 60%. Right, Tim?
Leading a growing business, it's like building a plane while flying it. Team building, decision-making, and scaling all at once. At CPO Playbook, we get it. That's why our podcast, ranked in the top 10% worldwide, tackles the toughest leadership challenges with insights to help you lead smarter and grow faster. Tune into the CPO Playbook podcast because leadership doesn't come with a manual, but we're pretty close.
Yeah, I mean, and Jlee, you had mentioned you had like a letter, right, that you used, like you accept the resignation of somebody when they don't.
Hopefully, most
take
folks could. There should be a template out there for this in other circumstances too, right? You have someone that you're calling back to work; they're a no-show. What do you do at that point if they're a no-show? You're accepting their resignation.
I like the angle that Idaho has a little bit. Maybe there's a best practice in here. So Idaho implemented a version of a return to work bonus. So if you remember, like just in the rundown, I said that, the Republican plan, one of them was paying people who return to work a $1,200 hiring bonus distributed in 2 payments. Idaho's plan is a $1,500 hiring bonus to those returning to work full-time, $750 for those returning part-time. Here's the kicker. This is the big kicker, Jlee and Tim. The money is first come, first serve. So there's an inherent pressure to figure that out. Go ahead, Tim.
I wonder, like with any of these return to work bonuses, right? They get distributed at some point. And of course, it's really hard to pull money back from somebody. So what's going to happen is, like you say, okay, hey, if you return to work, we're going to give you this much in your first paycheck and this much in your second, or after 30 days, or there's always going to be some kind of system around this, right? How many of those people are going to take that job for 2 months, get the $1,500, and then just go like, bye, I'm out, like as soon as they get the second payment, or whatever that might be from that standpoint, and then who knows what unemployment will be then, go back on unemployment. There's a part of me, like I'm 50-50 right now, because there's a part of me that says, yeah, we should be incentivizing for people to return to work versus incentivizing them not to work. At the same time, I'm with Jlee, like, why are we having to incentivize people to come back?
Yeah,
I mean, it's like there's a fundamental thing that maybe folks hopefully like would analyze about their situation if they have people who are refusing to come back to work. Like, are you paying people a fair wage, and are you paying them enough? Like, there's a basic thing there. Is the workplace safe? Are you showing and demonstrating that you're doing enough for people to feel like, yeah, they would want to come back? And then also, like, what's the culture like? Is the work meaningful? Like, there's all these like basic things that I would hope folks are, having a think about, to try to think about like longer term change, as opposed to like, let me just get a body back in here. But I know all that.
Hey, here's a market thing happening right now as well. So we have a client that has facilities all over the country, and we do a bunch of technician stuff for them. And so, we've always had really good success, never really had a problem of finding the right talent. And currently, though, we're having a really hard time in markets where Amazon has warehouses, because Amazon has gotten so aggressive in their pay and getting people, because they have such a huge need to hire, that we are now having a really hard time getting people to take the jobs that we have, because they're like, oh, I can go to Amazon and make $2 or $3 more an hour as a warehouse associate.
Jlee, what's your prediction? What do you think the Republicans and the Democrats come up with? This is always like coming up in the middle. I really like the Idaho plan, because I think the key being money is first come, first serve. You're going to see people who are really incented. Now, Tim's point is correct that there's always going to be some people that just come in and grab the money and they get out. But I think the people who really want to work, I think, will be included in that bunch, and they'll get there. But I'm assuming some type of extension is going to happen, right, Jlee?
Well, it's election year. We got a few months to go, so I'm optimistic that they'll figure something out because of that. Hopefully not just because of that, but I think that'll incent them.
Hey, in addition to safety, you've got a bunch of factors like what's going on with school, return to school. And so, for example, we're taping this on a Thursday, and just today, I think 4 counties in the Atlanta metro area, including the 2 biggest, came back and said they're going virtual at the start of the school year. They called it no live school, whether that means first quarter, first semester, or all year. They're not going to start there, and that impacts a bunch of people's ability to, have a place for the kids to go, which is another huge factor. When
had a conversation yesterday with a tech company, just about HR tech, but we went down this rabbit hole because we all have kids, right, that are going to be at home, in the pain point. And I don't have it as hard as like Jlee does with younger children. You and I, Katie, have like kids that are basically self-sufficient. Give them a computer and they'll figure it out. But like for these younger families, how technology could really disrupt that entire public education. And I was just spitballing the idea of, if I was a parent right now at home, I would find 4 other parents that were like me, and I would figure out how to gather. That would be our bubble. That's like going back to the MBA bubble of, as if those 5 families would be my bubble. And one day a week, like if I'm Jlee, on Monday, I'm taking all the kids, and I'm like old school, one schoolroom house, no matter the age, we're teaching everybody and we'll figure it out. And then I got 4 days to myself. And then another parent takes them one day and we just rotate them. Because otherwise, I mean, if I was a parent, I would go insane trying to teach my kids and work and do everything else in my house.
Hey, by the way, Tim, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but when you think about homeschooling, with like whatever percentage of America homeschools their kids, in many cases, it's not like the family, a mom or dad saying, I'm going to homeschool my kid. Apparently, and I've never like experienced this, there are these associations of homeschooling where the kids still go someplace. So what you're describing, Tim, is a form of that homeschooling association, but done with the public online like version, right? So you're really trying to like segment those kids away so you can get more done, which is interesting. And of course, Jlee has all this like coming at her 100 miles an hour in the next year or two.
It's sad.
If I was a college kid right now, knowing that I was going to be like next semester, I'm going to take a gap year or I'm just going to do everything virtual. I would literally sell myself out to neighborhoods as a neighborhood tutor. Like I'm going to come into your neighborhood, meet in someone's garage or basement, whatever it might be, and then because they can make some really good money doing that because parents are so, they don't have the capacity to be able to kind of teach their kids all the stuff that has to be done. And obviously public education in the first few months of showing what they could do at the end of the spring failed, dramatically across the country.
And by the way, guess what I got in the mail yesterday, Tim? A college tuition bill. So the colleges are not watching the colleges are not watching the paint dry. And I'm sure that's common. Like late July, we get a bill for like an August start.
They send those bills out before they cancel football season.
Exactly, right. I'm surprised we didn't get it like in mid-May, although that probably would have been a little bit disingenuous. Okay, so we'll keep our eye on the whole return to work thing. Obviously, it impacts all of us from an employment perspective. Let's get on to the next topic. Okay, I need you to cut, so I need to prep just a little bit, Tim. Next up, we're talking TikTok and employer rights, especially with like personal devices. So Tim and Jlee, last Friday, an email went out to Amazon employees directing them to delete TikTok from their phones over security concerns. So that went out. It kind of broke on the internet. Later in the day, Amazon issued a statement in an email that it was all a big mistake and there was no change in the policy surrounding TikTok. Now, we're going to get to TikTok in just a second and not what Tim is like watching on TikTok, because that's probably the biggest waste of time ever. But so that was last Friday. That was Amazon. This Monday, July 13th, Wells Fargo ordered certain employees to delete TikTok from work phones due to privacy and security concerns. Here's the company statement. Due to concerns, this is from Wells Fargo, about TikTok's privacy and security controls and practices, and because, quote, corporate-owned devices should be used for company business only, we've directed those employees to remove the app from their devices. So before we go into more of the rundown, Jlee, it's easy to say that with like a device that your company gives you. I would tell you that aren't the majority of us working off our own phone? We've all got email on there. The security risk is bigger than that, right, Jlee?
Yeah. So like whether you're using like the mail client on your phone for work, you're using the calendar, your contacts are loaded. Like there's so much on there that we're all doing, right? Even from our personal devices. It's like hard to segment that. Impossible.
I want to know what's the over under of TikTok videos that Jlee did on her beach vacation?
50.
Oh my gosh. If you guys told me I had to delete TikTok though, like I might cry. That's like my nighttime activity is just scrolling.
Hey, besides TikTok, Twitter's another one. We had the big breach yesterday, right? That took place with with Obama and all Bitcoin, the big like stars.
Yeah, the Bitcoin stuff, sure.
And one of the things that came out of that was saying, hey, if you're using TikTok for work and you're DMing people understand. If you get hacked, like all of that stuff could be downloaded. That could be, like there's a whole nother risk there as well. So it's not just, I think one of the big issues with TikTok is it's a Chinese-owned company, and obviously every Chinese-owned company is a little bit of a state-owned company in China. So now you have military and kind of just country international risk of what Chinese does with it, what China does with all the data. But Twitter is an American-owned company, and you still have risk there as well. I don't know. Like I'm not at one point in my career, Katie, I carried 2 cell phones and I never want to go back there. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever.
Never.
You mean a BlackBerry?
Yeah.
Right?
It was a BlackBerry.
Of course it's a BlackBerry. It's like a BlackBerry and a flip phone for Tim Sackett. Am I wrong,
Nokia,
Tim Sackett?
Nokia and the BlackBerry.
I love it. I'm amazed by this because I think it's one thing to say, hey, this is the phone or the smartphone that we gave you. And clearly we can tell you to delete it, but you have a much bigger problem. Like Jlee said, whether it's the mail app, like a bunch of different apps you use, by the way, different security protocols and probably different issues on Android versus iPhone. I'm not like a technologist. I can't tell you what the differences are, but if you have a problem based on a company issued phone, Tim, you most certainly have the same problem on a phone where somebody's using it for a blend of personal and professional life.
Yeah, remember when, this still happens in most big enterprise organizations, whatever environment they're in, if they're a PC environment, a Mac environment, a BlackBerry environment, whatever that might be, you had to use whatever you were given, right? Here's what it is. And one of the things that came out of a lot of the new employee experience data was that employees want to work in the environment that they're most comfortable in. And so if I'm an iOS user, I want to work in an iOS environment. If I'm a PC, then I want to work in a PC, whatever that might be. And a lot of organizations, especially in the tech community, have done that. So if you want to work on a Mac and you own an iPhone, it's all you. If you want a Chromebook and you want a Google phone, that's all you. We'll work across platform and we'll make it work. Because that was a huge issue with somebody going, I'm a PC person and you're making me work in a Mac and I can't stand it, blah, 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 And so I do think there's a part of this where that also becomes problematic when you're trying to work, from an IT perspective, it just becomes really difficult to say how, not only are we going to tell you hey, you have to use this device, but also we're going to tell you exactly what you can have on that device. It seems like a 1990s employee engagement nightmare versus a modern employee and the modern employee experience, which is, we're going to give you a device to use as your own. You can use it for work, but now we're going to tell you what you can and can't have. I don't know. The whole thing is a crazy nightmare.
So Tim, you mentioned the fact that, we kind of grew, or I guess that's the right word for it. We grew from single platform to multiple platform. The other thing we did is we really deferred a lot of the cost to employees. If you think about the computing power that you're holding in your hand now, that all of us have as individuals, that didn't always exist, right? You remember laptops have really emerged. But we hold so much computing power that organizations have been able just really to defer the cost. Sometimes you get a smartphone allotment. A lot of people don't, but they're still using stuff on their smartphone for work. I just really wonder, Jlee, if an organization like Wells Fargo really said, okay, we certainly control our own devices that we gave this set of employees. Now, if we really believe that TikTok is a security threat, let's make the call out to all the individuals that are there from this blending of personal and professional life. Jlee, what do you think the odds are that we could get people to delete TikTok on their personal device just because they get email from work on their iPhone or Android?
Not going to happen, but you do have I'm thinking about folks I know who work for federal government in agencies that do national security intelligence type work. And you could have a model like that. And I'll tell you, they hate it, but it comes with the territory where you come into work, you have to put your device and park it somewhere. You're not allowed to access the device, any social accounts, any personal email accounts, nothing during the workday. And then when you leave the workday, you can, join the rest of humanity online. And so I think like a direction like that, where you're really cleanly segmenting, they don't take any of their work with them on the road. There's no way they can access it. Like that's the only way you can do it. But it's hard to justify that, like, unless you're doing national security work.
Tim, what's your prediction on this? Does TikTok like face the corporate wrath, like moving forward? Amazon backtracked. Wells Fargo is out. I haven't read anything else this week about other people that are following. Are there?
There are. And actually, it's getting really big momentum. I would not be shocked at all if a lot of these companies and potentially even certain countries are going to outlaw TikTok from that. And that's becomes one of the bigger issues at play, because if we start outlawing other countries' apps, are they going to outlaw our apps? Instagram has come out with a beta of Instagram Reels, which is basically just a TikTok knockoff.
Right.
And so I think they're trying to figure out how do we get a US version of this so that we don't, the whole concern of all of this is just it's Chinese state, run, companies. And that's what that's the issue here, right? Is that somehow they feel, there's no control over hacking. There's no control over data security. There's no GDPR, kinds of protections. And so that's become the biggest issue. So I actually foresee, if I had to do a prognostication of, or what do they call that? Prognos. I can't even pronounce it.
I'm just going to let you lay
I'm
out.
I'm not going to try. If I had to make if I had to foresee out to the end of the year,
prognosticate.
A prediction.
A prediction. But I would prognosticate. If I had to do a prediction, I'm going to say TikTok will be outlawed by the end of the year in the U.S. There's no way. There's no way that'll happen unless something else takes over. But I don't think so. No, but I agree. And Jlee, my kids are on TikTok constantly.
Yeah, Jlee's just looking wistful right now, thinking about
what am I going to do?
Be gone. Well, there's an easy solution for this, and it goes back to the old days that Tim was hearkening back to. It's really take the expense of $200 to $300 a year, and give people their own device, and say they can't access email or any other work apps from their personal phone. That's it.
Hey, do you guys know? We all are MacBook users, right?
Correct.
And so on our MacBook users, you can set up profiles. So if I want to, I can log in under a work profile, but I could set up a personal profile that would be completely separated from anything at work. I mean, again, if I'm technical enough, I can kind of get through those two things myself. But on a cell phone, why can't you have separate profiles where I could have a work profile where I couldn't have TikTok, but then I could log out of that, log into my cell phone under my personal profile, and then I can have all that stuff.
Deep thoughts by Tim Sackett. Yeah. What do you think
about
that?
iOS developers, get on that. Why can I have multiple logins on my phone?
Too lazy. Come on. People don't even want to have different passwords on things. Use the same password on everything. They're not going to log into different things.
You're right.
Yeah, they can't even remember their TikTok password. How are they going to remember a profile password?
It comes right up.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we'll keep our eye on that. Again, I think you can pay. Companies can pay $300 a month for somebody to have their own device, and it solves all that problem. Okay, any closing thoughts? Jlee, what are you working on next week? What do you got going on?
Well, I'm still working on my tan. I want to continue this nice tan I got from on vacation. I don't want to lose it. I got to even out some tan lines. Separate from that, working on how to make sure that, as we open our hotels and people wear masks, that they don't yell at our people when we ask them to wear masks. So that's what's on my plate right now.
Hey, it hit national news, but I live in the city where one of the people was stabbed. An older guy was stabbed this week because he confronted somebody at a convenience store over not wearing a mask, and it's the governor came out and all this stuff. But it's the dumbest thing in the world that you just wouldn't protect not only yourself but other people, right? Have the courtesy to protect other people wearing a mask. Jlee, I have a question. So we were talking about school stuff earlier. And it's projected that the back to school spending this year will be higher than any other year because all these kids will be at home and their parents are going to have to set them up technically to be ready and prepared to do schooling at home. Are you going out and buying new MacBooks for for your kids?
Well, yeah, funny enough, we were just commenting in my house that like the iPad that my daughter uses is so old that like you can't even update the iOS to the current system. And so I think we need to replace that. And then separate from technology, I can't tell you how much money we spent on Amazon and Target for delivery of like arts and crafts, workbooks. Like we're spending all this money because we got to keep them busy and bribe them to just leave us alone while we work.
Tim, are you buying more technology on the return to school? You've got one in high school, one just finishing college, one in graduate school. Like, are you buying technology? I bet you're treating it as an excuse to buy up on devices. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of devices, but like Coop definitely needs a new laptop if he's going to be working at home full time from a schooling standpoint. He's got one of those kind of Surfaces right now that's just underpowered.
Yeah, I hear the Surfaces are nice.
He likes it.
Hey, so I'll tell you both what I'm working on, then I'll let you go. We'll get out of here. We've got a manager training series called Boss at Kinetix, and I'm in the process of working with a couple of people on our team to take all that online. Because as it turns out, nobody's getting together for training anymore.
There's not remote manager training, Katie?
So we're bringing it online, and it's been kind of a journey, kind of a path.
By the way, I told you, I don't know, I didn't tell Jlee this, but Katie, you and I have talked. Stacy Zapar, who's a friend of HR Famous, did remote recruiter training with my team. It was amazing. Like, I think there's a trick to it, and you have to really kind of put some thought and time into it. So she's created a great model. So you can go out and reach her. I think she's at tenfold.com is her site. So really great remote training being developed right now.
For the interest of listeners, you told me a little bit about that, but I didn't ask a follow-up question. You said one of the things she did was she worked with your whole team and then she did breakouts. What were the essence of the breakouts, Tim? What did she do that made those so effective?
A lot of it was, I think, having the small conversations around. So if you had, like, we have recruiting teams. So if it was 2 or 3 or 4 recruiters on a team discussing really their problem areas, like when you're in a bigger group, they get kind of nervous of asking or really engaging in the conversation.
Yeah, right.
So from a bigger group standpoint, you would have like the training that takes place, and it's just like, hey, here's a data dump. And then the smaller group stuff was more, hey, let's really talk about the conversation around this and where's the tech working, failing, all the issues. And then one-on-one was even, now I'm going to walk you through what job order do you have? Let's walk through a complete like sourcing way to do this. And so it was big group, small group, individual, from a remote standpoint through Zoom. And my team just is in love with it. They just thought it was great.
Yeah. So Jlee, what are the odds that if I did training and I had you two and somebody else, I'm doing a small breakout like Tim just talked about, what are the odds that Tim brings up liners for men's shorts?
100%.
101%.
Yeah, it's something else random.
So I'm going to reach out to Stacy. That sounds great. I've almost looking for thoughts. I think that's it for us for HR Famous. She's Jessica Lee. He's Tim Sackett. I, as always, am Chris Dunn. Until next time, we will see you later. We are out.